In every worship band, there's a handful of songs the entire team has committed to memory. That's probably because the band's played it 30, 40, maybe even 50 times. But what do you do if that arrangement or song starts to sound stale? Well, you might think that your band doesn't have the time or resources to take those popular songs and arrangements into new directions. But it doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, sometimes you can accomplish this with just 1 or 2 simple changes. You don't even need to learn any new keys parts. So let's take a song like Alive by Hillsong Young and Free. When this song was released several years back, tons of churches played it into the dirt, right? And it's got a very distinctive sound. The synths are right out in front and there's only 4 chords. The same progression is played all the way through. So the original sounds something like this. Right, if you've heard the song once, it's stuck into your memory. It's super catchy. But what would it look like to take the arrangement of this song into an entirely new place, maybe even into a different genre? Because this is definitely a dance, sort of EDM, techno song through and through. Well, it doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, we're going to stick with the exact same chord progression, the exact same lead riff. We're just going to change the sound that we use to play this song. And to do this, I'm going to use Sunday Keys and browse some of the very specific layered patches that come with the template. I'm going to play through this riff, try out some different sounds, and see what happens. So the patch I just used is actually a Sunday Keys patch as well. It's called This Is Alive. Be a little bit of a hint at the song that inspired part of it. So we've got that big trance lead in the right, we've got synth bass in the left, a little bit of ambience, a nice pad underneath, and it nails the original arrangement of the song. But let's try and do something completely different. So now I'm going to go into Sunday Keys. I'm using the main stage format. I'm going to go into Patch Builder, Layered Worship Patches. And here we can see the full list of all the layered patches that are available in Sunday Keys, but that is a pretty massive list. And we could go through one at a time and try them all, but we can get a little bit more specific than that. I'm going to click into Sort by Patch Style. Then I'm going to choose the Something Different category, because that's kind of what we're going for here. Now I can see a smaller list of patches. All of these patches have been placed into the Something Different category because they're just not what you would typically expect or hear in a modern worship context. Some of these might be off the wall in entirely different ways, but the idea is I have a progression in mind, I'm very comfortable with the original song, I'm just going to swap out the sound and see what happens. Haven't really rehearsed this too much, some of these might work, some of them might not. The point is, we're going to experiment. So let's start at the top. This list is alphabetical. This is called Beyond the Skies Lead. Let's see how it sounds. I mean, that's already super cool. So we've got different lead sounds in the right hand, but it still actually sounds kind of like a Young and Free song to me, just maybe like 1 or 2 records closer to the modern day. So you've got that sort of vocally lead. And we've got a different sort of techno sound in the right hand. And we bring the mod wheel down, and it gets darker. So right off the bat, if we didn't want to deviate too far from the original arrangement, we still want it to feel like a Young and Free song, but with some different textures, this patch would totally work. We got lucky there. Let's see what happens with the next one. This is called Conscious Edge. Totally different vibe. That's interesting. Yeah, interesting. It's way more ambient. We've got this finger piano in the right hand. It still sounds sort of like a pop song to me, but definitely not as much in the techno space. So depending on the arrangement of your band, it could work. Maybe it's a terrible idea. That's up for you to decide. Dreamscape guitar, that sounds different. Let's just give it a try. Okay, so see the piano is just in the left hand, and it's actually cutting off before I would really want it to. So I'm gonna just take this down a whole step so I can play it. Yeah, this doesn't sound good, so we're just gonna skip it. 80s Darling. Okay, well, it's an 80s sound for sure. All right, let's try this one. It's called Fear Silencer. Oh, this is cool. So this would take the song in an entirely different direction. It's not going to be a dance song anymore, but if you were stripping it down, maybe you had more of an acoustic set, you could hang here and just kind of hit the changes. Maybe if you sang that part an octave down, it would be a full-on remix, and the rest of your band would have to go along with it, but it could totally work. Let's try a few more. This one's called Flaming Chariots. Oh, here's sort of an 80s vibe for sure. So if I were using this patch, I would be choosing specifically as the keys player to step back. Maybe I'd ask the guitarist to play that sort of percussive lead riff, and I'm just gonna fill space underneath with maybe some chords. But it's definitely got that retro vibe, and if your drummer was really tight in the pocket, hitting the kick on the floor, popping the snare, it could totally take the song into a new direction. It wouldn't be necessarily an EDM song anymore, but absolutely a pop song. Let's try this one called Low Key Variant. It has a sequence in the left hand, so I've set the play in and hear in transpose to the key of E, so it's gonna match what I'm playing. Let's hear how it sounds. So I just got to figure out what even's going on in the left hand. Okay, so the sequence is kind of dictating what I can do in my right hand because it's taking up all of that space. I have to leave some room for it in my right hand note choices. Yeah, it's a big change, but if I had a kick drum on the floor sort of locking everybody in, I think that it could actually work. Again, I'm thinking the guitarist could do something a little bit maybe more modulated, some chorus over the top, leaving some space. Let's do one more with a sequence. This is called Punch, Kick, and Run. And all of this is really happening in the left hand. So it's got this really cool sort of delayed sequence that happens. And in the right hand, I've got this sort of bell lead that's fading in a little bit more. And if I wanted to, I could play with some of the controls, maybe add a little bit of shimmer, so it fills a little bit more space and has a little bit longer tail. To me, this feels almost like a King's Kaleidoscope sort of vibe, this sort of trippy, backgroundy thing that's going on. If your band's locked in around it and you're just playing those changes, it's gonna add some really interesting textures. Everybody else could play it straight, and you're just doing something that takes it in a new direction. The cool thing about bringing a new sound that doesn't require anything of other people in the band is that sometimes it actually encourages them to try something new, even though they don't necessarily have to. It's great because you're in the sweet spot of not asking anybody else to change what they're doing, but leaving an open invitation for them to follow along. So you might spark creativity in other members of your band as well. As far as I'm concerned, that's a win, and it's worth trying this out. So I'd love to encourage you to find a song that your band loves to play, that you've played a bunch of times, dive into some of these weird layered patches, and see what happens. Leave a comment and let us know what the song was and what patch you decided to try and remix it with. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss our future videos. And if you'd like us to do more videos like this, we'd love to hear that too. Thanks for watching.